Little Bo-Peep. Little Bo-Peep was a very nice little girl. Her cheeks had a bloom on them like a lovely peach, and her voice sounded like a sweet silver bell. She had a lot of sheep and took them into the field so they could eat their grass. One summer evening, when the sun was setting, Little Bo-Peep, who had to rise very early in the morning, felt tired and sat down on a bank covered with daisies. Being very weary, she soon fell fast asleep. Now one of the sheep in Bo-Peep's flock, the leader, always wore a bell around his neck. The other sheep followed him wherever he went. The leader of Bo-Peep's flock was very naughty and wild. Finding Little Bo-Peep asleep, he stood on his hind legs and whirled himself around like a top, shaking his head all the time and ringing his bell. Very soon the rest of the flock began to dance and sway too. And when they had wheeled around their leader for some time, they ran off after him into the wood. Away they went till they were quite tired, and then they came to a standstill, staring at their leader with blank faces. The leader now shook his head slowly and rang his bell, which seemed to say, "We are lost! We are lost!" When Little Bo-Peep awoke, she found her sheep gone, and she walked far into the wood to search for them. She saw an old raven who looked very wise. Little Bo-Peep asked him whether he had seen a flock of sheep, but he only cried, "Caw, caw, caw!" So Bo-Peep ran on again across the fields. She wandered on till nightfall, and being faint with hunger, was very glad to see a light near by. As she went on, she saw that it shone from a cottage window, but when she came to the door, it looked so dark and dismal that she was afraid to go in, and was just going to run away when a cross-looking old woman came out and dragged her into the cottage. She made her sit by the side of her son, who was very ugly, with a great red face and red hair. The old woman told her boy that she had brought Bo-Peep to be his wife. So Bo-Peep, who did not like him at all, ran away while they were asleep. But she did not know where to go, and gave herself up for lost when she heard something cry, "Too-whit, too-woo," in the tree above her. It was a great owl, which began flapping its wings with joy. Bo-Peep was frightened at first, but as the owl seemed very kind, she followed it. It took her to a cottage where there was plenty to eat and drink, and then, to Bo-Peep's great surprise, it began to speak, and told her this story. "Dear Bo-Peep," said the owl, "I am the daughter of a king, and was a lovely princess, but I was changed into an owl by the old woman at the cottage, because I would not marry her ugly son. But I have heard the fairies say that one day a lovely maiden who would come into this wood to find her lost sheep will help me become a princess again. You are that pretty maid, and I will take you to the spot where you will find your sheep, but without their tails. The elves will play with them for this night, but in the morning every sheep will have its tail again, except the leader. You must then wave his tail 3 times over my head, and I will become a princess again." The owl flew off and led Bo-Peep into the wood and said, "Sleep, maiden, I will watch." How long she was asleep she could not tell, but the charmed spot was suddenly lighted up, and she saw the queen of the fairies seated on a bank. She then saw all her sheep come trooping into the place, and on every sheep there was an elf who held in his hand a sheep's tail. After riding them about for some time and having great fun with them, each elf restored the tail to his sheep, all but the leader sheep's tail, which they hid in a tree. When Bo-Peep looked up, she saw the owl flapping its wings as if to remind her of her promise. So she fetched the tail and waved it 3 times over its head, and it became the most charming princess. The princess gave Bo-Peep a beautiful cottage, and her sheep never ran away from their kind mistress again. And so goes the rhyme. Little Bo-Peep, she lost her sheep, and didn't know where to find them. Let them alone, and they'll come home, and bring their tails behind them.